Freddie's Gospel/Jazz Brunch on Sunday, April the 27th. For details, tickets, or donations, please visit parksideedc.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not 2 and 7. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580 TGIF. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is called First Things First. And my very first thing today and every day, giving thanks, giving praises, and asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and getting it started. Yes, indeed. I'm so blessed to be here on this mic speaking with you. And this is how we do the show on Friday. We call it Freedman Friday because we focus on reparations every week around here. We're getting smarter, we're getting more well-versed, and we are part of the solution to this very important debt that is owed to us meaning Black Americans. That's mostly what we focus on, although sometimes we bring in the global perspective. So Hour 1, we look local. We do the left coast, what's happening on the Pacific Ocean side of town. Hour 2, we go national, international, and beyond typically, but today it's a Freedman Friday, and we will be talking with one of the premier Black economists in the country. Dr. Julianne Malveaux will crunch the numbers around reparations for us. And then Hour 3, we will be joined by Dr. Paul Wallace, dermatologist to the stars, cosmetic dermatologist, I should say. And he is blackety black and unapologetic about focusing on what's best for your skin. So we can be our most beauteous, including dealing with some of these ailments that Black folks in particular, but everybody tends to deal with. And summertime is coming, so springtime is here. People want to have their skin out. 800-920-1580. That's our number. You're invited in every hour when I am on the air. If you have something to say, if you want to relate to the topic, or you have something you want to bring to the KBLA delegation. By the way, speaking of the KBLA delegation, we are in the comments. It's a running commentary during the show. We stream live on youtube.com, KBLA 1580. You can see me if you want to. Dr. Wallace will be in the studio, so you can see him. And you can converse with your fellow opinionated, unapologetically outspoken KBLA delegates. We start off today with my partner in politics every other week. He is the president and founder of ES Advisors, which is a public policy and campaign consulting firm. He's also a regular contributor to KBLA 1580. Ed Sanders, good morning. Ed?
Good morning.
Oh, there he is. I know you were on mute, right? Yeah. Uh-huh. How are you this fine Friday?
I'm doing well. Having a blessed Good Friday. Good morning to you.
Yes, it is Good Friday. Easter Sunday is this weekend. It's also 420, which is sort of a weird convergence, I will say, to say the least. But any big family plans?
We get together for Easter dinner, I guess early in the
Oh,
afternoon
nice.
after everyone goes to their respective churches, and so it's nice. We get a chance to see everybody, so we'll have a good time this weekend.
So no 420.
Um,
No 420 on
some of the nephews
Resurrection
and
Day.
cousins, there might be 420 running around somewhere.
Somewhere. Yeah, the views and opinions. I mean, yeah. It's on a need to know basis, is what I mean to say. So it's interesting on this Good Friday, we're having a gathering at Black Lives Matter LA Center for Black Power in Leimert Park. I'm sure you know about the People's Budget, where regular folks from Southern California, particularly with ties to LA, weigh in on how they think their money should be spent. It takes maybe 10, 15 minutes. You go through the whole survey and you could rate what you would prefer to spend more of your money on, what you want to spend less of your money on. And then that data is compiled by some top scholars, Dr. Tabitha Jones-Jolivet and Dr. David Turner. And generally in the past, it's been disseminated to the people in the community. Well, for the past 2 years, the mayor of Los Angeles has listened to those findings as part of the budget process. Typically, though, it's been after she submitted her budget. This year, tonight, those findings will be presented to her ahead of her presenting her budget document. So the hope is that the people's will influence what she decides to do. And it's the first time a mayor has ever made herself available to the progressive / radical community to listen to what folks want to see their budget dollars spent on. So it's a big deal, and it's open to the public. It's right there by the Leimert Park metro stop, the BLM LA Center for Black Power. If you haven't seen it, right across from the actual Leimert Park. All are welcome. It's been packed for the past 2 years. The mayor is there. Not only does she listen to the findings, they do take a few questions, and she listens to the people. So great opportunity.
Yeah, and they've been doing it for a couple of years now, and it's fascinating because the results are always illuminating, but two, it's helpful, right? I think the first piece that you sort of touched on, which is, understanding the budget process, the mayor's proposed budget, and then the city council takes it and deliberates on it and goes into budget committee and then puts forward what ultimately is approved by the council, and hopefully the mayor concurs, right? In that process, it's amazing how much gets done in sort of this short window here every year, but you can lose track of elements. And, this process is so great because you really get to see all the things that your city or local government does for you. And you might not think about it, but you look up someday and it'll be, we spent that much on, repaving the streets. And if we didn't, how many streets got repaved? And that's a funky, and that matters. That's a real life impact to us, right?
There goes your tires. There goes your axle.
Exactly. And so, it's informative, right? And so everyone participating, I think, go with the mindset of understanding how something that's spent by the city impacts your life, and then, begin to rank it. Go with an open mind. And so I'm looking forward to seeing the results myself.
Wow. Well, one thing I think is not so telling, but also interesting, is the fact that every year since I've been tracking the People's Budget, which I think is since it started, people want to spend zero on parking enforcement. Like every single survey is like parking enforcement, zero. People generally want to spend less on policing, which isn't that surprising considering they take up half the budget. And and they cost us a lot of money because of all the settlements for the crimes they commit. So people in general, that's the trend line. People do not want to spend on parking enforcement, and they want to spend less on policing and more on things like the kind of public safety things like fixing street lights, and having community-based organizations like our gang intervention organizations present in the community.
Exactly. And, the point is valid. When you look at it, the other thing I like about it is that it's not being presented by an elected official, right? I think I saw that the controller, had a town hall and he was doing a presentation on the budget. And, there are certain things that he spoke about in his little blurb that, are more political than actual. And more designed to score political points than sort of the actual substantive conversation. And
really,
and yeah.
Do you think he's going to run for mayor? I mean, that's the rumor because of the polling that's going around that we don't know who paid for, as you pointed out last time. That's checking to see if people would vote for him.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure he's testing his name. I think it's really easy to sit back as a Monday morning quarterback and criticize. It's a much different thing to propose and to lead, and those are two qualities that I haven't seen evidenced in him yet. So ultimately, you ask, do you want him to run? People might be fond of some of the stuff he's doing as controller. That's a much different role than being mayor.
Yeah, well. Certainly he led an insurgent, some would say, from out of nowhere Gen Z campaign. Is he Gen Z or millennial? I don't know. I think it might be millennial campaign to become controller. And that was, but I understand what you're saying. Leading a campaign is not the same as leading a city, a county, or a country, as we are watching on the national scene. 800-920-1580. That's the number if you want to weigh in. There's a lot to look at. Ed Sanders, Dominique DiPrima, and you for KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Hi, I'm Dominique DiPrima, and it's almost time to celebrate KBLA's 4th anniversary, coming up Juneteenth 2025. We'll be marking the achievement with 4 key community events, including a special symposium, luncheon, and brain trust hosted by me entitled The State of Black Women in Los Angeles. Keep it locked here for details on how to join us for this groundbreaking symposium examining the unique challenges, triumphs, and contributions of Black women in Los Angeles in the areas of education, healthcare, community leadership, cultural and political contributions. This public convocation will provide a critical forum to address the specific social, economic, and political realities facing Black women in LA today. We'll go live with a radio broadcast and YouTube live stream, a public discussion, and a private dialogue with some of LA's most impactful women. It's an affirmation of Black women standing at the intersection of race and gender in times of adversity while demonstrating remarkable resilience and leadership. We will listen and we will speak out and be heard, all in service of finding opportunities and solutions. Please plan to join us in celebrating our 4th anniversary by amplifying the voices of Black women. For more on our symposium and 4 events celebrating 4 years on the air, simply stay tuned or keep an eye on KBLA1580.com and help make this Juneteenth more jubilant with all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
What's that sound? That's the sound of Downy Unstoppable scent beads going into your washing machine and giving your clothes freshness that lasts all day long. There it is again. It's like music to your ears, or more like music to your nose. That freshness is irresistible. Let's get a Downy Unstoppables bottle shake. And now a sniff solo. Nice. With Downy Unstoppables, you just toss, wash, wow, for all-day freshness.
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
It's me, Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. I see those dry elbows, baby. But don't worry, get moisturized right in the shower. So hydrated you can skip the lotion after.
Don't wanna see it dry no more. Skin so moisturized with body wash.
Look at you now, no more dry skin. Your skin gets the moisture it craves with
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, we're getting back to Dominique DiPrima and Ed Sanders with a big, robust shout out to our chat room, as they call it. Is it a chat room? The comments, whatever it is, folks are in there. Good morning. I see you in there too, Ed. So a UCLA student was detained at the border. It's an international student, so that means they're not a citizen, a graduate student, likely not a citizen. They haven't released their name, but this is someone who's being held at the U.S.-Mexico border by ICE and Border Protection. The student, we don't know a lot. UCLA saying they just learned that one of their students was being held while they were attempting to come back into the country. And they're in the custody of CBP, Customs and Border Patrol. They're saying they are not getting a lot of information. It's a woman. They don't know her name or her nationality. And this is over by San Diego. It's really, it's crazy what's happening right now.
Yeah, there's not a lot of information for sure, but I can recall the angst of universities at sort of the start of the year for their student body that traveled internationally or that needed visas to come into the country. And I remember the call for everyone to right after Trump won, but before he took over as president. The call was get back and get situated. Really to avoid scenarios like this. I think it's unfortunate, right? You've got someone that is, clearly investing in their future, investing in the future of this country. And, I guess, some more facts will come out. Maybe, they're not being overly open with and transparent, but I do hope the person does get a chance to continue.
I mean, look, they've canceled, according to the Trump administration, they've canceled 1,000 student visas. And some of those students may have been notified and some not. So it could be that. We don't know what it is. But I've never heard of this before, just wholesale canceling people's visas. And a lot of them supposedly for protesting. Black Lives Matter LA and some other organizations were out at Channel Islands, Cal State Channel Islands, protesting on behalf of Angel Marie Thompson, is that her name? She's a student protester from South LA who is being, Angel Marie Taylor is her name, who was being detained and punished because of protesting against cuts to diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Not even Palestine. And she's a citizen. It feels like a little nod to what's to come. But the good news is apparently well over 100 people showed up in support of this young woman and protesting hands off our students.
I hadn't seen her story. How do they even know she was protesting?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I suppose now you have surveillance, they've got, people can tell when you're protesting, you can track their cell phones, but many times I would think on a campus, it's cameras, right? Because everywhere has cameras. Remember in 2020, they were taking LAPD was using people's Ring cameras because they do have access. If you have a Ring, LAPD has access and Amazon has given them permission to go fishing for violations of people while they were walking to the protest. So a lot of it is this surveillance, I believe, although I'm not sure of the specifics of this actual situation with Angel Marie. And then, of course, there's this article in the LA Times today talking about how more immigrants are just self-deporting right now because they don't feel like being taken into custody, going to prison, basically, or in the case of El Salvador, what amounts to a concentration camp.
Yeah. That is a debacle. And, we don't hear, the outcries from around the world, but your characterization of a concentration camp is right on. And, I remember seeing, I guess it was either earlier this week or late last week, where the El Salvadorian president was sitting in the Oval Office with the president. And, it was like a clown show going on, just how boldly they are walking us into just really an immoral position, right? I can understand, your desire to have, immigration policies, but to be bitterly cruel about it, is something else. Something else. So, strange times we're in, for sure.
Well, I mean, and I do know some people are cheering, yay, get these immigrants out. But I also know that a lot of us understand that it's never, ever resulted in good things when the feds are swarming our neighborhoods. Good things for black people. Not only that, these are our neighbors, many times our friends. And the FAFO is going to extend beyond just migrants. It's going to extend to you. If you think that you're not benefiting from the taxes that are paid by migrants or the labor that they do, then you're not really paying attention, I would say. You notice that, I think it was last week, Trump said he was going to let farmers designate certain immigrants as good people and that they would be given the opportunity to stay. And we know what that's about. It's about the workforce, the labor force that is used to do what? Pick our vegetables, deal with our meat packing and processing, and on it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's, there's what we can look at other communities and what he's doing in other communities, right? And, to your point, I try to encourage folks not to get too excited about that, because all at the same time, they are removing every bit of opportunity that is sort of carved out in this country's history by removing DEI. It's the tagline of it is become such a political football, but when you look at them and you watch them, how they erase our history, how do you tell the story of Major League Baseball and not talk about Jackie Robinson? How do you tell the story of the U.S. military and not talk about the Tuskegee Airmen? Those elements are essential, right? How do you go into the African American Museum and attempt to close down the sections?
Oh man, I got to get out to D.C. before they bulldoze it like they did Black Lives Matter Plaza.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I watched the conversation on immigration. It does have play with our brothers and sisters throughout the Caribbean and from the African continent, because they are caught up in it even more so than I would say the Latino communities. And so, I do keep an eye on that and try to figure out where we can be.
Did you see this guy? His name is Juan Carlos Lopez Gomez. He's a citizen. He was born in Georgia, and they detained him in Florida as an unauthorized alien. I'm assuming as profiling based on how he looked, or maybe there's another guy named Lopez Gomez. I mean, it seems like probably a common name. They arrested him. They kept him in jail for a couple days. They just let him out. There was a traffic stop and he was a passenger. He wasn't even the driver in the car. And
yeah, it seems like they've got these goon squads doing all this now. They sent teams up to the schools and that sort of thing. Really creepy sort of stuff, right? Like, armed men coming to a school, not really identifying themselves, and asking to see children. All of these stories that I'm seeing, like at ICE, there hasn't really been any sort of transparency on their hiring practice, but I'm assuming that they've hired all of these yahoos, that they fired people and then hired a whole new crop of people, because they don't seem sophisticated in the law for sure. Right, like
I'm laughing because I had a security expert call here and say just the way they're approaching people on the street shows they're not really seasoned in that particular, form of enforcement. But in this case, the ICE had asked them to hold this guy longer, and the judge ended up letting him out because they came with his birth certificate, his social security card, and the judge said, look, I'm looking at these. They're watermarked. They're authentic. Why are we holding this guy? But ICE was wanting him to stay in custody. And again, it's a Latino guy. You can downplay it if you want, but he's a U.S. citizen who went to jail for no reason. Went into ICE custody for no reason. And black people, I think we should know a thing or two about being taken into custody for no reason. And if that's where we are, which it appears that is where we are with our republic at the moment, that's chilling. And we got to fight back. When we come forward, we only have 30 seconds right here. Maybe you can do it in 30, Ed. I'm wondering what you make of the AOC Bernie anti-oligarchy tour, which is drawing out thousands. Maybe we should talk about it after news, traffic, and sports. Yeah, it's not really fair for me to give you 20 seconds to answer that question. So we'll talk about it after news, traffic, and sports, and I encourage you to call 800-920-1580, KBLA Talk, 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with 4 things you should know from BIN News. The black mother of the black Texas high schooler accused of a track meet murder is speaking out for the first time. Kayla Hayes says her family has been receiving death threats. Her teen son, Carmelo Anthony, is out on bond after being charged with the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf. Eastern Nebraska and western Iowa are dealing with heavy tornado damage affecting many black people. Multiple tornadoes were reported throughout the region, with damage reports coming from the Omaha area and the Iowa towns of Randolph and Essex. The Tennessee Black Caucus is condemning what it calls a lack of awareness after House Majority Whip Johnny Garrett handed out actual whips as gifts. The Republican reportedly gave them to 6 newly appointed deputy whips. Black filmmaker Ryan Coogler's Sinners is expected to get off to a pretty good start at the box office. The vampire thriller stars Michael B. Jordan. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Attention parents of high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors. CBU is offering one 8-week online general ed course, free of charge. Courses are online. There's no application fee, and the first class is free. Classes start May 5th. Apply now at calbaptist.edu/PCC.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The final spot in the Western Conference bracket in the NBA playoffs will be determined tonight. Dallas is at Memphis tonight in the play-in round. The winner gets the 8th seed and will play at number 1 seed Oklahoma City in Game 1 of a best-of-7 first-round series. Starting times have been confirmed for the Lakers and Clippers in their first-round series. Both series start on Saturday. It's a 12:30 tip-off for the Clippers at Denver in Game 1 on ESPN. The Lakers are at home against Minnesota Saturday night, 5:30 tip-off on ABC. The UCLA women's gymnastics team advanced to the Final Four in the national championships. Jordan Childs, who won an Olympic gold medal last year, helped UCLA advance when she won the uneven bars title. UCLA joins Oklahoma, Missouri, and Utah in the finals on Saturday. You can catch the national finals live on ABC. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At Providence, health equity is the foundation of our community health initiatives, ensuring care reaches those who need it most. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. African Americans face a higher risk of life-threatening issues like hypertension, the number 1 cause of stroke. 55% of Black adults have high blood pressure. The good news is 80% of heart disease is preventable with healthy lifestyle changes and patient-centered care provided by the Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. From routine screenings to advanced procedures, Providence provides comprehensive care for the heart conditions that overly impact our community by ensuring patients receive treatments tailored to their needs. Let's stop the trend of being 30% more likely to die from heart-related problems. Take charge of your heart health with world-class cardiologists who deliver the compassionate care you deserve. serve. Visit providence.org/SoCalHeart. That's providence.org/SoCalHeart to request an appointment.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready? Drop it! Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. Know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
And today you're waking up with Dominique DiPrima and Ed Sanders. And of course, you're invited in at 800-920-1580. Don't be shy. So our fire recovery czar has left the building, Steve Soboroff, who used to be on the police commission. And it's just amazing to me how everybody wants to take shots at our mayor right now. It's like they smell blood in the water, or they just feel like they can go out willy-nilly any old kind of way. He was saying he was shut out of high-level planning. What do you expect when you go to a town hall meeting in the Palisades and throw the mayor under the bus while you're supposed to be the recovery czar? I don't get it, Ed. I don't get it. Who thinks? Yeah. I had someone ask me, why did the mayor fire the fire chief? Why, I would have fired her the minute she got on CNN and start talking smack about me and my leadership while the fire's still burning. I don't get it. Make it make sense.
Yeah, it's hard to. It's one of the perils of dealing with, a big ego like Steve Soboroff. It's in some sense, it's a position that, probably should have been thought or conceived a little later on, not as urgently as everyone moved to get a czar in place. But, clearly, he took his role as though he was being appointed, almost by God himself and trying to move. And so, within the framework of all of that, it clearly didn't work. And so, out he had to go. And whatever frustrations are his frustrations, the work still remains. Right?
I mean, but here's the thing, Ed. The guy does a 90-minute complaining session with the LA Times. The LA Times, and it's a billionaire, South African billionaire owner, are on a rampage against the mayor. They don't tell you one single good thing she does, of which there are many, and all they do is complain about the fire, which their main complaint is that she was in Ghana. So, okay, for the first 24 hours of the fire, give me something concrete beyond that that you really have to complain about. The mayor's leadership if you break it down, and what's happened with the fire has been stellar. He wanted $500,000 for 3 months. Then when people found out about it and they didn't like it, he agreed to work for free. And he claims he's still working around the clock to help people, even though he's complaining that the mayor and them didn't ask him to do anything. Yeah, you went to a town hall meeting in the Palisades, which is what you were tasked with fixing, and sat there and talked smack about the mayor. How is that helping the fire? How's that helping anything? And then when your term is up or you're dismissed, you want to run and talk toxic to the billionaire that's gunning for our black woman mayor for 90 minutes. That's what you had time to do, Mr. Soboroff?
Yeah, and that therein is the ego part of it, right? You know, I don't know about you. I've never spent 90 minutes talking to the LA Times.
They never ask me. I'd talk to them for 90 minutes, but they pretend I don't exist. So that even when my mom or my dad died and they did these huge, obituaries, they failed to mention that, the daughter is is an Angelino that is actually a stakeholder in the black community here. They pretend I don't exist.
Yeah, I mean, why point people to a truth sayer when you're trying to hide the truth from people? But look, I mean, that we talk about the role of LA Times here in LA, and certainly, under this ownership group, how slanted and jaded they've been towards the mayor. All of that is true. I mean, any of the articles that you read about her are, if there is something good, it is attributed to everybody, and if it's bad, it's directed directly at her. I'm glad we have this forum, and thankful to KBLA and you to speak about it, because, as everyone that's listening reads the news, particularly from the LA Times, you have to distill that, right? And when you think about Steve Soboroff relative to the recovery, look, he came in, he's not the right guy, he's out, right? And to your point, when you look at all of the work that's gotten done on the recovery without him, it's actually quite remarkable, right? You look how they're ahead of time on, clearing debris and moving to the next phases. They're actually moving really, really well on this. And, that's the current narrative, right? And you're not seeing that anywhere. Certainly not from the LA Times. I mean, those that are tracking it are seeing, a lot of these milestones being hit. So, let him take his parting shots.
And the fact that he would basically imply that he was a DEI hire. That's what he told them. She just wanted an older white guy at the front. I mean, I'm laughing because it's so pathetic. I just, to me, that's just, go sit down. Or if you really want to help.
Yeah,
you don't have to be the czar to help. I'm sorry, say again?
Yeah. I mean, how do you step into a role and then, just go off on your own? How do you not coordinate with the mayor? You know what I mean? That's insane. If you're stepping into that role, you coordinate, right? You're going to have to coordinate with the council. You're going to have to coordinate with the mayor. There's county supervisors that have say in some of this. This isn't, this isn't like, what do you think, Stephen? Everything gets, done just because he thought so. That's not how these things work. And so, in this case, he just wasn't the right person for it. So,
and again, he can be like Mr. Caruso, start your own nonprofit and go help somebody. There's lots of people that need help, raise money and give every person in the Palisades, $10,000, or everyone in Altadena. I know that's not where his roots are, but nevertheless, everybody needs help. Meanwhile, in my loud but yet humble opinion, I think that Supervisor Barger is getting a whole pass from the LA Times, from the television news media. The fact that she would say last week, at the end of last week, that a light bulb went on over her head when she realized that not one permit has been issued out there is really like, what? It's been 100 days and you're just now figuring this out. I don't, it's not just me reading about her in the paper because the paper doesn't seem to ever mention her. The Times. It's like, who's over Altadena, the place where the black residents didn't get notified until 3 a.m. that they had to leave and barely escaped with their lives, where not one single permit has been issued, where people are saying that residents are saying that the funding is being diverted away from them, where renters are being found living in their cars because there is no provision for them if they don't own the property. I mean, how is that person getting a pass? You know, if we're going to hold elected officials accountable, shouldn't they all be held accountable?
Certainly, in all the scenarios. You know, the emergency response in the Eaton fire still remains, you know, highly questionable. I mean, you talked about, you know, when the evacuations were ordered. The lateness of that cost 17 people their lives and living east of or west of Lake Boulevard. And that to me is sort of the biggest question. You know, everyone tends to focus on, you know, the mayor being in Ghana. Look, everyone got evacuated out of the Palisades. You know, they did a good job of getting people out of the Palisades. You know, as crazy as it was. The slip-ups in notifying the people west of Lake is one of those things that, you know, 100 days later, I cannot believe we do not have an answer to that. You know, who was responsible and why it hasn't been addressed, and this waiting for the McChrystal report is you know, this, you know what it feels like? It feels like when there's a police shooting and you've got to wait. The police department makes you wait for their investigation to get complete. And sometimes it's just, you know, straightforward. You can see it on the video. Like how long do you have
and sometimes those reports never seem to come.
They never seem to come. And, you know, they only state what you already saw in the video. So it's like there was nothing new being added by the delay. And this is one of those cases where, you know, the delay is insulting to us as the public, right? As big a catastrophe as this was, we need some answers today on who and why and how did this happen, right? Like, because the real question is, are we safe right now? That's the real question.
Paul Lee is saying the Dodgers visiting the White House was foul and disrespectful, especially with what those clowns did to Jackie Robinson. He also says they've already snatched up black people. E.C. Courtney says it's a good thing we have our own war room, chat room, Asante Dominique, so they know you are there. And Jerry Anderson says that's the contrast in leadership right there. Absolutely. And why are we giving a pass to the only Republican on the LA County Board of Supervisors? What, you know, and I know she's worked in a bipartisan fashion on some things, Supervisor Barger, but yet and still seems like everybody's happy to let our mayor take all of the responsibility, even for areas she doesn't cover. She's not over Altadena. She's not over Malibu. But those mayors and supervisors are happy to, you know, put their heads down and duck and let the mayor take the shrapnel. And that, to me, is not something we should allow as the public or the press. 800-920-1580 if you want to weigh in. I'm Dominique DiPrima. He's Ed Sanders, and this is KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. SMP volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an SMP open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit CASMPvolunteer.org. Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
Hi, I'm Joe Montaigne. Let's talk about veteran homelessness. Because it's not just a housing issue, it's a human issue. Right now, we need LA property owners to open their doors and give veterans a safe place to call home. With guaranteed rent and dedicated support, you can be part of the solution. Learn how you can help. Email houseurourvets@lacity.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Wow, here's something I didn't know. For the first time in NBA history, all 4 California teams have made the playoffs, and the playoffs start this weekend. Miles reminded me, the Lakers have their work cut out for them, right? Going up against the Timberwolves, because I understand the Timberwolves are kind of on a roll at this moment, and the Lakers didn't end on a roll, from my understanding. Your thoughts, Ed?
Well, Lakers are in good shape. They're in good shape.
Okay,
They've
all
got
right.
home field. Yeah, they've got home court in this. Yes, Anthony Edwards is probably one of the more electric players in the league, but we've got LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves, firing on all cylinders. So, it should be, if it's a gentleman's sweep, I'll be happy.
What's a gentleman's sweep?
I was going to try to do it. I couldn't do it this early in the morning, but make it in 5.
Okay, so
I don't have it.
Game 1 is at Crypto on Saturday, a.k.a. Staples on Saturday, and Game 2 will be Tuesday. So this will go minimally go until next weekend. So there you go. Ira's on the phone.
He's going all the way till June.
Okay, works for me. Ira's on the phone. He's one of our Republican callers, and I'm going to let you talk to him, Ed. Good morning, Ira.
Good morning, and protect Black women. The idea, look, we were talking about Karen. Let's understand a couple of things. Her best bet's going to be to reach out to her community. She's going to be a one-term mayor. They've already got her as a lame duck. It's all set up. DEI era is over. The Mexicans will be happy to help her out. That's what she should be reaching out to.
Ed?
I mean, that's just a narrative. That is a narrative that, as you read the paper, that's kind of what you come away with. What it really is you got to wait and see who actually, signs their name on the line. We're in the phase now where there's a lot of talk, and there's a very difficult job in front of this mayor and future elected officials. There's $1 billion deficit that the city of LA is got to deal with. This mayor dealt with that when the state was in its shortfalls back in 2008, 2009, 2010. Those were painful years from a state budget standpoint. She was speaker and she navigated, the community through that. That experience is going to pay dividends. You get into this situation where we're, as a city, again, we're facing $1 billion shortfall. So, the real question is who's willing to sign their name on the line to do that difficult job. she's committed to it, and I haven't seen anybody else with that level of commitment. So those narratives about, she's going to be a one-term mayor, I doubt that. I think when it all comes down to it, you're going to look up and you're going to say, well, this is the best person to steer us through this.
It's worth noting that the election is June 2nd, 2026, and a lot is going to happen between now and June 2nd, 2026. I know we'll still have the same owner of the LA Times, more than likely, billionaire South African owner, who is clearly gunning for the mayor. We know it's likely that Rick Caruso will run. It's possible that it looks like others are gearing up, possibly Lindsay Horvath, Tracy Park, maybe our controller, Ken Mejia. There are others that are clearly looking to run. Can they win? I doubt it, but you never know.
I'm not sold that they want to run, Dominique.
No.
I'm not sold on the idea that they really want to run. Those council members would have to give up their council seats to run, as I understand. Again, the role that the mayor, will have is going to be a really, really difficult one. Trying to govern the city through that level of budget deficit is painful. I think everyone thinks they want to be mayor and, raise the Olympic torch and be that. But, the rest of the time it's going to be about, fighting for communities. And so, honestly, I don't know that all of those names being floated really have the gumption to run for mayor.
Okay. Well, thank you for your opinion, Mr. Ira. Politics is funny business. I mean, you've been in it a long time. You've worked on many a campaign and also been staff for elected officials. And I think it is true that our mayor has not caught a break. Like, she doesn't seem to get credit for the things that she does. Violence is way down in the city. Our public safety is way up, but yet y'all elected Nathan Hochman, who brought back the death penalty and is now being accused of retaliation by a couple deputies because of the Menendez case. That'll be going to court. She's way ahead of schedule in the Palisades fire cleanup. She's actually extended help to Altadena, even though it's not part of her portfolio. A lot of things are going right, but she can't catch a break with the press and with the timing of things. But that doesn't mean she won't in the next year.
Yeah, it is. Everything seems gloomy when you can just tee off on her, right? This really has to do with who's the other option. Right, and I really haven't seen a really strong option. We've seen Caruso before. We've seen a well-funded Caruso campaign, and this isn't a city that would have elected Donald Trump as mayor, and this isn't a city that will elect Rick Caruso as mayor.
We'll see. I didn't think we were a country that was going to elect he who shall not be named as prez, but yet, and maybe we didn't. Who knows? But yet. Jerry Anderson wants to know, can we start the anti-oligarch narrative now in the race for mayor? To me, Jerry, that narrative started last mayoral election when Rick Caruso spent $100 million and the police union spent $3 or $4 million to try to defeat Karen Bass, and she won anyway. But I think, and correction, apparently the Sacramento Kings are not in the playoffs, so not all of the Cali teams are in. But yeah, I mean, I think the anti-oligarch narrative is even more key now when you've got Elon Musk attacking the mayor, when you have the reported billionaire president attacking the mayor, and another billionaire planning to run against her with the help of the billionaire owner of the local paper.
Yeah, if I remember right, there are 45 billionaires that live in Los Angeles, and They all seem to be coordinating. At least a good number of them. To Jerry's point about forming an oligarchy, they're doing it they've done it in Washington. I think they have designs on certainly using that oligarchy to hurt the Mayor Bass here, right? And in the end game, we saw this in the first election against Caruso, and while it's distressing, I think we know how to beat that here in LA.
Yeah, but he didn't have the convenient narrative of the fire, although I do think he's been hurt by the fact that folks are now finding out that he hired private firefighters to protect his mall while his neighbors' homes burned and his mall was untouched. And so I think that's going to also come back to bite him when things get rough during the election. One thing that we often don't track is that Patrick Soon-Shiong, who owns the LA Times, also owns the San Diego Union Tribune and the Spanish publication Hoy. So he has the ability to bash the mayor all over Southern California and among the Latino population as well.
Yeah, it's that, and certainly as you look towards the next gubernatorial race, LA and San Diego being the two largest cities in the state, there will be a lot of influence by those three publications or news outlets, because people are used to reaching for them when they get their news, and it's just important that you distill what you're reading in all of these. And it's important that shows like this have the ability to do that.
Because, we trust a big pharma executive from South Africa. Of course we do. Anyway, Ed Sanders, it's always delightful talking with you. Tell us how to track you. Not in real life,
sadly,
online.
I'm still on X. We got to sit down. Yeah, you got to get me off of X. I got to figure out how to do that.
I'm still on X too, but it's Edward M. Sanders. But I'm on Blue Sky, but there's no one follows me. It's lonely on Blue Sky for me.
Yeah. We've got. I hate to stump for him, but we've got to find a way to grow that up so I can get off X at least.
All right, Ed. Well, thank you for checking in and for your insights.
Have a happy Easter weekend.
Friedman Friday is next. Economist Julianne Malveaux weighs in on reparations. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with 4 things you should know from BIN News. The black mother of the black Texas high schooler accused of a track meet murder is speaking out for the first time. Kayla Hayes says her family has been receiving death threats. Her teen son, Carmelo Anthony, is out on bond after being charged with the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf. Eastern Nebraska and western Iowa are dealing with heavy tornado damage affecting many black people. Multiple tornadoes were reported throughout the region.